warned her. Some hating-ass girlfriend of hers. I mean, I like them. I really do like them. But her, there's something about her. You know?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The daytime television arena, a kingdom built on unfiltered opinion and theatrical delivery, found its quintessential voice in Wendy Williams. For over a decade from her purple throne, she presided over pop culture with a unique blend of gossip, shade, and a disarming, often jarring candor that her audience dubbed keeping it real. So when the seismic waves of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's documentary interview reverberated across the globe, all eyes turned to the Wendy Williams show for a verdict delivered not in the measured tones of a news anchor, but in the explosive, no-holds-barred style that was her trademark. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Williams, never one to shy away from controversy or a juicy headline, did not simply comment on the event. She devoured it, offering a perspective that was less royal correspondent and more a court jester speaking uncomfortable truths to a deposed duke and duchess, reflecting a significant, if often cynical, slice of American public opinion. Williams launched her critique from a foundation of profound skepticism toward Meghan's narrative of victimhood. Her opening salvo was often a reminder of Meghan's agency, famously quipping, "She knew what she was getting into." This line became a mantra for those who viewed Meghan not as a naive ingenue swept off her feet, but as a sophisticated, ambitious Hollywood actress who had meticulously researched the institution she was marrying into. From Wendy's perspective, the royal family wasn't a surprise. It was a choice for immense privilege, global fame, and historic status, which, in her transactional view of celebrity, came with non-negotiable terms and conditions: relentless media scrutiny, a loss of privacy, and the requirement to suffer in glamorous silence. Williams's commentary suggested that Meghan wanted the crown but not the weight it carries, the title without the tradition it demands. She framed the couple's decision to step back and then tell their story as having your cake and eating it too, a fundamentally American pursuit of individual happiness, clashing with a deeply British ethos of duty and sacrifice. Her analysis zeroed in on what she perceived as performative contradiction. She would, with a characteristic lip purse and a dismissive wave of her hand, highlight the disconnect between the couple's plea for privacy and their multi-million-dollar media deals with Netflix and Spotify. "How can you say you want to be left alone while you're mic'd up and filmed for a documentary?" she'd ask her studio audience, who would erupt in knowing applause. To Williams, this wasn't a strategic effort to control their narrative, it was hypocrisy. She often reduced complex emotional and psychological struggles, including Meghan's revelations about suicidal ideation, to the level of daytime drama, questioning the timing and the platform. Her commentary was less about the validity of their pain and more about the optics of its monetization, a concept she, as a master of monetizing controversy, understood intimately. Furthermore, Williams, an African-American woman herself, approached Meghan's claims of racism with a particularly sharp and contentious lens. While never outright denying the possibility of prejudice within the palace walls or the British press, her tone was often one of eye-rolling dismissal, leaning into the same argument used by critics like Andrew Tate, that the race card was being played as a strategic deflection from other, less sympathetic motivations. She would reference her own experiences, implying that her skin was darker than Meghan's and that she'd faced her own battles, yet she had built an empire without, in her view, constant recourse to victimhood. This perspective resonated with a segment of the Black community who view Meghan's racial identity as situational, or who are weary of what they see as a narrative that oversimplifies the complex realities of colorism and intra-community prejudice. Williams gave voice to this skepticism, packaging it in punchy, memorable sound bites designed for maximum impact. It was entertainment, first and foremost, but it was also a reflection of a specific hardened celebrity ethos. In the world according to Wendy, fame is a game with clear rules. You take the good with the bad, you never let them see you sweat, and you certainly never ever complain about the very spotlight you fought to get into. Meghan and Harry, in breaking these unwritten rules, became the perfect subjects for her brand of brutal theatrical critique. Williams held the mirror up to them, but in doing so, she also held one up to her audience, revealing a deep-seated cultural ambivalence toward the couple. Her takes were a potent cocktail of schadenfreude, skepticism, and a peculiar form of tough love, suggesting that if you can't stand the heat, you shouldn't have married into the royal kitchen. It was messy, often reductive, and occasionally cruel, but in the cacophonous court of public opinion, Wendy Williams' voice was, for a long time, one of its most influential and unmistakable judges.
And I applaud her plotation on the royal situation. But please, don't try to garner sympathy from us. You knew what you were doing. By the way, your friend is a hater.
The court of public opinion is a cacophonous arena, but few voices cut through the noise with the sharp, unapologetic tone of Wendy Williams. From her throne-like chair on The Wendy Williams Show, the queen of hot topics presided over celebrity culture not as a journalist seeking truth, but as a populist arbiter of accountability, dispensing her verdicts with a blend of gossip, shade, and a brutal, often reductive form of common sense. So, when Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, sat down for her candid and emotionally raw ITV interview with Tom Bradby, revealing the profound isolation and intense pressure she faced within the royal family, the world waited for Wendy's take. True to form, she did not offer a shoulder to cry on. Instead, she delivered a dismissive, stinging rebuke that would become a defining soundbite for a significant segment of skeptics. You knew exactly what you were doing. This wasn't mere criticism, it was a full-throated rejection of Meghan's narrative of victimhood, distilled into a mantra of personal responsibility that resonated with those who view the monarchy through a lens of transaction, not tradition. Williams' central thesis, encapsulated in her accusation and her pun-filled applause for Meghan's plotation on the royal situation, is rooted in a profound belief in premeditation. In Wendy's worldview, Meghan Markle was no naive American ingenue swept off her feet by a Prince Charming. She was a sophisticated, ambitious, and worldly wise woman in her late 30s who had navigated the cutthroat industries of Hollywood and television. From this perspective, the idea that she was unaware of the immense scrutiny, archaic protocols, and loss of personal freedom that came with marrying into the British monarchy was not just implausible, it was insulting to the intelligence of the public. Williams framed Meghan's journey as a calculated career move, an upgrade from B-list actress to global icon, and with that upgrade came non-negotiable terms and conditions. To then complain about the very fame, attention, and constraints she had ostensibly signed up for was, in Williams' eyes, a breach of contract. It was the equivalent of accepting a starring role on the world's most famous stage, and then complaining about the bright lights. This perspective fundamentally reframes Meghan's struggle, her revelations about feeling unsupported, her confession that she was not okay, and the poignant admission that the constant negative press had left her feeling trapped are not seen through a lens of empathy for a woman in a mental health crisis. Instead, they are interpreted as buyer's remorse. Williams' commentary suggests Meghan wanted the crown, but not the weight it carries, the title without the tradition it demands, the global adoration without the invasive scrutiny. The plea for sympathy is thus recast as a strategic miscalculation, a belief that the public would side with the individual's pursuit of happiness against the impersonal institution. But for Williams and her audience, the institution, for all its flaws, is the star of the show. The individuals are merely temporary players, and their duty is to play their part without complaint. By breaking this fourth wall and revealing the mechanics of her pain, Meghan, in this view, committed the ultimate sin. She made the magic look like hard work. Furthermore, Williams' command, "Please don't try to garner sympathy from us," speaks to a deeper cultural cynicism about victimhood and privilege. It reflects a weariness with what is perceived as the monetization of trauma, a sense that pain has become a currency in the attention economy. From her perch in daytime television, a world built on melodrama and emotional spectacle, Williams is an expert in leveraging personal struggle for ratings. Yet there is an unwritten rule: the struggle must feel authentic and relatable. Her dismissal suggests she finds Meghan's struggle neither. It is seen as the struggle of a woman who flew on private jets, lived in palaces, and wore priceless jewels, all while talking about how difficult her life was. This is a narrative that fails to land in a context where everyday people face struggles with rent, healthcare, and anonymity. Williams acts as a conduit for this frustration, giving voice to the sentiment that Meghan's problems are the luxe problems of the elite and therefore unworthy of the public's emotional investment. Her show was never a forum for nuanced discussion about the tensions between modern mental health awareness and ancient institutions, or about the specific nature of misogynoir in the British press. It was a court where judgments were swift, delivered in punchy, memorable phrases designed for viral consumption. "You knew what you were doing" is a perfect artifact of this culture, a sentence that dismisses complication, ignores nuance, and reduces a sprawling, emotionally charged saga to a simple case of a woman who made her bed and now must lie in it. It is a perspective devoid of empathy, but overflowing with a certain kind of street-smart accountability, reflecting a large and vocal faction that believes that when you play the game at the highest level, you don't get to cry foul over the rules you agreed to.
I respect, from Suit, and she's giving it up, but just keep in mind she's an actress. I'm happy for her. I respect her game. A black person is finally in the palace, but
The architecture of celebrity is built on fleeting connections and amplified by the relentless engine of talk television, where a 6-second interaction from over a decade ago can be excavated and presented as a crucial key to understanding a global phenomenon. Such was the case when Annalyn McCord, actress and former star of the rebooted 90210, settled into the hot seat across from Wendy Williams. The conversation, as it inevitably did for any guest with even a tangential link, turned to Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, whose journey from minor actress to royal rebel had become the defining pop culture saga of its time. McCord provided the hook, a brief, forgettable to everyone but her appearance alongside Meghan in a 2008 episode of the teen drama. For Williams, a connoisseur of such tenuous threads, this was not a trivial footnote, it was a foundational piece of evidence, a portal into the real Meghan, and she wove it into her existing, firmly held thesis with the gusto of a prosecutor delivering a closing argument. Williams, the self-appointed populist arbiter of celebrity accountability, seized upon McCord's anecdote not for its content, but for its mere existence. The fact that Meghan had once inhabited the same soundstage as McCord was all the proof Wendy needed to reinforce her central unwavering belief: Meghan Markle was, is, and always would be a Hollywood actress. This wasn't a neutral descriptor. In Williams's lexicon, it was a diagnosis. It implied a fundamental understanding of scripts, staging, and audience perception. From her purple throne, Williams constructed a narrative of premeditated ambition, where Meghan's entire royal chapter was the greatest role of her career. McCord's presence served as a living reminder of Meghan's origins in an industry built on artifice and ambition, allowing Williams to frame the Duchess's subsequent struggles within the palace not as a genuine human crisis, but as a poorly received second act. She knew what she was getting into, Williams would have likely reiterated, her eyes wide with knowing implication. The brief 90210 stint was recast as part of a long-term script, a minor gig on the way to the ultimate booking, a lead role in the world's longest-running monarchy. The conversation undoubtedly veered into the territory of then and now, a favorite talk show trope. Williams, a master of contrast, would have juxtaposed the image of Meghan as a guest star fighting for screen time in a glossy teen soap with the image of the woman now lecturing the world on ethics and privacy from the opulent confines of a Montecito mansion. This contrast is never accidental. It's designed to provoke a specific reaction, a sense of incredulity that someone from such humble, in Hollywood terms, beginnings could ascend to such heights and then deign to critique the very system that elevated her. McCord, by her mere presence as a contemporary who stayed in the lane of conventional celebrity, became an unwitting benchmark against which Meghan's unprecedented trajectory could be measured, and in Williams's court judged as unnatural or grasping. The subtext was clear: know your place. Meghan's alleged sin was forgetting hers, believing her new title made her more than just an actress who got lucky. Furthermore, Williams would have used this platform to double down on her most controversial and cynical take: the dismissal of Meghan's claims of racism and media persecution. By linking Meghan firmly back to her Hollywood roots, Williams implicitly frames these claims as part of a performance, a storyline designed to generate sympathy and brand differentiation. In this worldview, honed over years of watching celebrities manipulate narratives, Meghan's racial identity becomes not a lived experience, but a strategic asset, a unique selling proposition in a crowded market. The fact that she briefly worked with McCord, a white actress, allows Williams to flatten the complex reality of both women's experiences into a simple, dramatic arc of envy and ambition, where victimhood is merely a costume tried on for effect. Williams' commentary often resonates with an audience deeply skeptical of performative wokeness, and this segment would have been crafted to feed that skepticism, suggesting the entire ordeal was less about principle and more about PR. In the end, the segment with Annalyn McCord was never truly about McCord, or even about a forgotten 90210 cameo. It was a ritual. It was Wendy Williams utilizing any available artifact, no matter how small, to reaffirm her core belief system to her audience. That belief system holds that celebrity is a transactional game with clearly defined rules, that ambition is a dirty secret to be exposed, and that vulnerability from the powerful is always a calculated play. The guest star credit from 2008 was transformed from a trivial IMDb entry into a foundational myth in the Williams-verse, proof positive that the Duchess of Sussex was merely playing a part, and that Wendy, the ever-watchful critic, was the only one brave enough to yell "cut" on the entire production. It was a masterclass in reducing a complex woman and a multifaceted scandal into a simple, digestible, and fiercely entertaining narrative of Hollywood ambition, proving that on daytime TV there is no connection too thin to bear the weight of a sweeping judgment.
He held out for the perfect person to marry so that he could do this. You can't tell me that Harry all of a sudden just came up with this idea to want to be not royal. You know what I mean? The thing he had to do is he had to choose the right woman. And certainly a woman like Kate was not the right woman, see? Kate wanted to be royal.
The unmistakable sound of an audience roaring its approval, the rhythmic beat of her signature theme music, and the sharp click of impeccably manicured nails on the desk. It could only mean one thing: Wendy Williams was holding court, and when the subject turned to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's unprecedented decision to step back as senior royals, the Queen of Hot Topics did not come to play. In a monologue that was equal parts razor-sharp commentary, unfiltered gossip, and startlingly prescient psychological insight, Williams detonated a bomb on the carefully constructed narrative surrounding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, positing a theory that sent shockwaves through the world of royal watchers. This wasn't Meghan's master plan, it was Harry's long game. Leaning into her microphone with the confidence of a seasoned prosecutor, Williams laid out her case not with malice, but with the weary "I told you so" sigh of a woman who has seen every kind of celebrity maneuver in the book. "Let's be clear," she began, pausing for dramatic effect as her studio audience fell silent. "Meghan is getting all the blame. They're calling her the Duchess of Difficult, the actress who couldn't handle the rules, the outsider who came in and stole our Harry and broke up the royal band. But honey, let me tell you something. A man doesn't change his entire life, his title, his relationship with his grandmother, the Queen, because his wife of 2 years whispers in his ear. Number this has been brewing in that ginger head for decades." Williams, with her unique talent for distilling high drama palace intrigue into relatable sidewalk conversation terms, took her audience on a tour of Prince Harry's life in the spotlight. She pointed to the old tapes, the young prince walking behind his mother's coffin, a moment of unimaginable trauma played out on a global stage. She reminded everyone of the rebellious teenage years, the Vegas strip billiards photos, the admitted partying, and the constant simmering anger he has spoken about feeling inside the gilded cage of the palace. "This is a man who has been screaming for a different life since he was 12 years old," Williams declared. "He just didn't have the nerve or the right partner to actually make the jump. Meghan didn't create this desire to escape. She was just the final, beautiful, compelling reason he needed to finally do it." Her commentary then pivoted to a shrewd analysis of their branding, something Williams, a master of personal branding herself, is an expert on. She saw their move not as a flea, but as a launch. "Don't you sit there and think they don't know exactly what they're doing?" she asked her audience, who erupted in agreement. "They're not moving to Canada to live in a log cabin and chop wood. They're moving to North America, the land of the mega deal, to become the most famous couple on the planet. They're going to be bigger than the Beckhams. They're going to have their own Oprah-style network, production companies, speaking tours. Sussex Royal isn't a title, it's a global brand, and it's worth billions." Williams framed the entire Megxit not as a retreat, but as the most audacious corporate takeover in modern royal history, a calculated severing of ties with the old stuffy corporate headquarters, Buckingham Palace, to start their own sleek, modern, and immensely profitable startup. Of course, no Wendy Williams takedown is complete without her signature blend of humor and shade. She joked about the couple's desire for financial independence. "How you gonna be independent when you still want to live in a house owned by the Queen? That's like me saying I'm independent from my mama, but I still want her to do my laundry and hold my allowance." The audience howled. She pondered the practicalities of their security, their travel, and even what their new social circle would look like. Who are they gonna hang out with? The Obamas are busy, the Clooneys are in Italy, they're gonna be stuck at home with just each other and that baby. And let me tell you, that's a long time to be alone with your thoughts, even in a mansion. But beneath the laughs and the sharp one-liners was a surprisingly poignant point about family and the price of freedom. Williams, no stranger to public family drama herself, spoke with a tinge of sympathy about the rift with Prince William. "That's the real tragedy," she said, her tone softening. "The brothers. That bond was forged in trauma, and now it's broken over." "What?" Business deals? That's sad. You can get another house, another title, another job, but you only get one brother. In true Wendy fashion, she ended her segment by speaking directly to the couple as if they were watching from their Vancouver Island estate. Good luck, kids. You wanted freedom. You got it. The world is watching, and it ain't always gonna be pretty. But remember, you made your bed, now you gotta lie in it, and I hope it's a comfortable one, because you're gonna be spending a lot of time there. It was the perfect Wendy Williams ending. Part well-wish, part warning, and 100% unforgettable. She didn't just report the news, she broke it down, added her own special sauce, and in doing so, reframed the entire conversation around Harry and Meghan's great escape. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do not forget to leave your thought in the comment section. Thanks for watching.